unlock this door with the key of remembrance. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of nostalgia. A dimension of entertainment. A dimension of grief. You're moving into a land of both life and death, of mourning and celebration. You've just crossed over into the Hollywood graveyard. Hello, Mr. Serling. 60 years ago, in 1959, audiences took their very first journey into a dimension whose boundaries are that of imagination, an area between light and shadow. The Twilight Zone was the creation of a visionary man, one of the all-time greats in the annals of Hollywood wordsmiths, Rod Serling. When Serling began writing, television was a brand new medium. He burst onto the scene in the 50s with dramatic hits like Patterns and Requiem for a Heavyweight, before surprising audiences by announcing a new sci-fi and fantasy series. In that era, sci-fi was seen as a lesser art form, but there was logic behind Serling's decision to stray from straight drama. What the Twilight Zone did was granted him a degree of freedom and creative expression that he hadn't enjoyed before. He could write stories that were meaningful to him, but in the context of robots, aliens, and the paranormal, in far-off times and places, he could avoid sponsor and censor interference. The series premiered on October 2nd, 1959, and was an immediate hit. It would run for 5 seasons, and in that time, Rod Serling wrote or adapted 92 of the 156 episodes made. And with his distinctive, punctuated voice, cigarette in hand, Serling became the unwitting star of the series as narrator, making cameo appearances at the beginning of most episodes, setting the stage for the unusual events that are about to transpire
in the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone would not only pave the way, but set the standard for all TV sci-fi, fantasy, and horror to follow. It's considered one of the greatest, most influential TV shows of all time. In 1975, Rod suffered a series of heart attacks. In June of that year, he underwent open-heart surgery, but suffered another heart attack on the operating table and died 2 days later. He was only 50. He was buried here in Interlake in New York, not far from Cayuga Lake, location of his summer home and also the namesake of his production company. He left us far too soon, but he also left us a treasure trove of entertaining and thought-provoking stories that we'll be able to enjoy for generations. And the Twilight Zone has lived on in various incarnations to this very day, a true testament to the greatness of Rod Serling.
Respectfully submitted from an empty cemetery on a dark hillside that is one of the slopes leading to the Twilight Zone.
Thank you for all the wonderful stories, Rod.
Portrait of a man obsessed with death and the macabre. For the better part of a half-decade, Arthur Dark has found himself wandering graveyards to reconnect with the stars of yesteryear. In just a moment, Mr. Dark will board a train he hopes will take him back to the stars of Hollywood, so many of whom shine bright in the misty gray regions of the Twilight Zone. The destination on his ticket may read Los Angeles, but for Mr. Dark, the train will make an unscheduled stop, deep in the heart of the Hollywood graveyard.
Ticket, please.
Oh, yes.
Where are we headed today, Mr. Dark?
Los Angeles.
End of the line. You have a long journey ahead of you.
Well, it gives me time to work on my video.
Oh, you're a filmmaker.
Well, a YouTuber.
Ah, well. Safe travels, Mr. Dark.
Oh boy, where to begin? Oh, there's so many. Oh. Hello?
You forgot someone.
What? I haven't even started yet.
Why?
Well, if you must know, I'm not really sure where to start. Where are your parents, anyway?
Why don't you start at the beginning?
Weren't you just... Look, kid, don't bother me. I got a lot of work to do, all right? Start at the beginning, huh? Hollywood Graveyard was born at Forest Lawn in the Hollywood Hills when we made our first tour video there in 2017. As an anthology series with a rotating cast, many of the great actors of the era were featured on the Twilight Zone, as well as some new faces that would soon launch to stardom. The first star we ever visited who had a featured role in the Twilight Zone was Lee Van Cleef. The rugged Western star of such classics as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly can be seen in his younger, pre-mustachioed years in the episode fittingly titled The Grave.
Since this is a job you're gonna have to do by yourself, how are we gonna be sure that you've done it?
What do you mean?
Well, what's to keep you from going, let's say, to the edge of the graveyard, then coming back and telling us you've gone all the way?
When the Twilight Zone ventured into the realm of comedy by making an homage to silent comedies of the teens and 20s, who better to get to play the lead role than one of silent film's biggest legends, Buster Keaton. The episode follows Keaton, who time travels from the silent era to the not-so-silent 60s, and hilarity ensues. Not far from where Buster lies is the grave of Telly Savalas, of Kojak fame. His journey through the Twilight Zone was one of the most creepy and most memorable, when he's haunted by a talking doll in the Season 5 episode, Living Doll.
My name is Talkie Tina, and I don't think I like you.
Just a few miles away in Glendale is the original Forest Lawn, where some of Hollywood's biggest stars are laid to rest. Ed Wynn, the beloved actor of films like Alice in Wonderland and Mary Poppins, made 2 appearances in the Twilight Zone. In the second episode of Season 1, he's followed by Mr. Death himself. And in the episode 90 Years Without Slumbering, Wynn's life force is inexorably connected to a grandfather clock.
Now look, mister, I can't let you go in there.
Don't you see, look, don't you see, I'm running down. And if that stops, I'll die. I'll really die.
Laid to rest here with Ed is his son, Keenan, also a prolific character actor. He too made an appearance in the Twilight Zone. His episode was not only memorable for being the final of Season 1, but it's also the only episode in which Rod Serling makes an appearance in the actual narrative of the story, and not just as narrator.
In real life, such ridiculous nonsense could never...
Rod. You shouldn't.
In the columbarium of memory here in the Great Mausoleum is the niche of actor Jack Carson, of Mildred Pierce fame. In the Season 2 episode The Whole Truth, Jack finds himself in the unfortunate situation of being an unscrupulous used car salesman, cursed to only tell the truth.
What else have you got?
Oh, what else? Well, I haven't anything else worthwhile to show you. Everything in this lot should have been condemned years ago.
Out to the grounds of the cemetery on Sunrise Slope is the grave of William Demarest, fondly remembered for playing Uncle Charlie on the TV series My Three Sons. But in the Twilight Zone, the TV was not so kind to Mr. Demarest, who sees in it his own indiscretions.
Can't you hear? Can't you see? Look! It's a trick! It's a trick! It's a trick!
The badgering wife who torments William's character almost as bad as the television itself is Joan Blondell, who is laid to rest here in the columbarium of the Evening Star. The actress, also known for films like The Blue Veil, can be seen in the episode titled What's in the Box.
What did you see, Joe? Lady wrestlers? What do you see, Joe? A burlesque show? Fan dances from Yonkers?
Many know Ted Knight as Ted Baxter from The Mary Tyler Moore Show. But if you keep your eye out in the Season 1 episode The Lonely, you'll spot Ted Knight as he delivers supplies to a prisoner whose jail cell is an asteroid millions of miles from Earth.
How about it, Allenby?
You're out of luck, Corey. The sentence reads 50 years. And they're not even reviewing cases of homicide. You've been here 4 years now, so that makes 46 more to go, so make yourself comfortable, huh?
Cyril Delevanti was one of the few stars to have appeared in the Twilight Zone more than just 1 or 2 times. 4 episodes feature this wrinkle-faced British actor with a big smile. Passage on the Lady Anne, A Piano in the House, The Silence, and A Penny for Your Thoughts.
How did you know? How did you know, Mr. Pooh? It's true, of course. I was thinking of filling my briefcase with the bank's money.
From one of the biggest to one of the smallest cemeteries in Hollywood, the star-studded Westwood Village Memorial Park has more stars per capita than anywhere else in the world, including Marilyn Monroe. James Coburn, who won an Oscar for his role in Affliction, had a commanding screen presence. That presence is felt as the antagonist in the Season 5 post-apocalyptic episode, The Old Man in the Cave.
There is no old man in the cave. He's a lie. He's a concoction. Nobody's seen him, nobody's heard him, nobody knows who he is or where he's from.
Just feet from Coburn is the niche of Lloyd Bochner. He was the star of the episode To Serve Man, where an alien race... Well, I won't spoil it for you, but let's just say this episode has one of those wonderfully shocking twist endings that the Twilight Zone became so famous for.
This is the way nightmares begin, or perhaps end. Very simple, direct, unadorned. Incredible, and yet so terribly real that even while they're happening, we live with them and digest them and assimilate them.
In this same fountain garden is the niche of Jack Klugman. The Odd Couple actor was another series regular, making 4 appearances in the Twilight Zone, in some of the more dramatically weighty episodes, including the heart-wrenching Season 5 opener, In Praise of Pip.
You can't leave me now. You can't go away from me now.
Peter Falk's Detective Columbo is one of the great characters in television history. But with a beard and an accent, you may not even realize that it's Peter Falk who plays a Central American revolutionary in the Season 3 episode, The Mirror.
A mirror that reflects the faces of my assassins. Isn't that intriguing?
Richard Conte, famous for his role as Barzini in The Godfather, took us for an unsettling stroll through one of his dreams, or rather, one of his nightmares, in the episode Perchance to Dream. Don't fall asleep. You may never wake up.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not.
Then come. You are afraid.
Only because this isn't happening. This is a dream.
Sebastian Cabot had one of those voices built for film and television, for example, as the narrator on Winnie the Pooh. But in Season 1 of The Twilight Zone, his talents were used to slightly more diabolical ends.
Look, I don't belong in heaven, see? I want to go to the other place.
Heaven? Whatever gave you the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine?
Jonathan Harris was a perfect fit for his role in the episode 22. The actor who played Dr. Zachary Smith in the series Lost in Space played a doctor helping a woman cope with her nightmares in the Twilight Zone.
Well, Doc, what's it going to be tonight? Big discussion about Freud and dreams?
You don't seem interested in dreams, Miss Powell. In the story you recount, you keep projecting the fact that it is a dream.
To Hillside now, a Jewish cemetery in Culver City. Among the stars who made appearances on The Twilight Zone before they were stars was Leonard Nimoy. The actor who would forever be known for his portrayal of Spock in the Star Trek series had a very small role in the episode A Quality of Mercy in 1961.
Short. Yards. 5-0. Short yards 5-0. That's right, still. They say that's their limit.
Not far from here, in the Garden of Solomon, is Theodore Bikel, the actor who is best known for stage performances as Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof. Did crazy better than just about anyone else on The Twilight Zone in the episode 4 O'Clock.
That's what I'll do. I'll turn all the evil people into little ones. You understand? I'll make every evil man 2 feet tall.
And that should do it for Hillside.
Wait, you forgot one.
What? Who?
You forgot Jack Benny.
Jack Benny. Are you serious? What's your name, kid?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Jack Benny was never on The Twilight Zone.
No, but The Twilight Zone was on Jack Benny. Remember?
Yeah. The Twilight Zone was indeed on the Jack Benny program. In the early 1960s, two of the most popular shows on television were The Twilight Zone and the Jack Benny program. So perhaps it was inevitable that these two shows would meet in a hilarious mashup, where Benny finds himself in the Twilight Zone, a town whose mayor is none other than Rod Serling.
Where am I? Oh, there's a sign.
Twilight Zone. Your Honor? Yes, I'm the mayor of this town. As a matter of fact, they named it after me. I'm Mr. Zone.
Benny is entombed here in the mausoleum at Hillside. There, Jack Benny. Happy?
Yes.
Not far from Hillside is Holy Cross, a Catholic cemetery. Fans of I Dream of Jeannie fondly remember Hayden Rorke as comedic foil Dr. Bellows on the 60s sitcom. Look for him in the Twilight Zone episode A Penny for Your Thoughts, alongside Bewitched actor Dick York.
I'll put half of it on Lucky Lady in the 6th, and split the rest between Nimble Runner and Crinoline at 5-1.
Nimble Runner? 5-1?
What did you say?
Hollywood Forever is the cemetery that perhaps most fully embraces its place in Hollywood. Another Bewitched actor who made an appearance in the Twilight Zone was David White. He played Larry Tate on Bewitched, but in the Twilight Zone, he was a loving father in search of a somewhat unconventional mother figure for his children. In the episode, I Sing the Body Electric.
We have perfected an electronic data processing system.
Well, what does that mean, Daddy?
Electronic data processing system in the shape of an elderly woman built.
A woman?
Yeah, sort of a robot.
Down this same corridor here in the Cathedral Mausoleum is the niche of actress Celia Lovsky, who was once married to Peter Lorre. The Vienna-born actress seen in films like Soylent Green played Viola Draper in the episode with an ancient Egyptian spin, Queen of the Nile.
Can you imagine what it was like to see her always so fresh and beautiful, while my mirrored image grew seared and yellowed with age?
Joan Hackett is famous here at Hollywood Forever for her unique epitaph. The Oscar-nominated actress played Esther in the season 3 episode A Piano in the House, featuring a piano whose music has quite an unusual effect on people.
Beast! I've controlled myself for 6 years. And I can't stand it any longer.
Mickey Rooney had been performing in film and television for over 3 decades before his memorable turn on The Twilight Zone. Known for his Mickey Maguire short films and movies alongside Judy Garland, Rooney showcased his dramatic acting skills in this unique One Man in One Room episode, The Last Night of a Jockey.
You really are a dumb little runt, aren't you? Oh, excuse me, that's what you call yourself, isn't it? Runt, or was it shrimp? Why don't you get out of here?
Mount Sinai Cemetery is adjacent to Forest Lawn in Hollywood Hills. Here in Maimonides section is Ross Martin, a character actor who played Master of Disguise Artemis Gordon in The Wild Wild West. In The Twilight Zone, he played one character with multiple faces. Not sure what I mean? Check out the episode The Four of Us Are Dying.
Johnny, are you a ghost?
Sure, a ghost. I just came down to check the mourners, read the obituaries. How'd they feel about the deceased, huh? What kind of tears?
Jesse White is perhaps best known today as the Maytag repairman, so it's fitting that he played a repairman in the Twilight Zone episode with Buster Keaton, Once Upon a Time. He also played Carol Burnett's guardian angel in the episode Cavender is Coming.
I'm an angel. I happen to be your angel.
Don't you worry about it. I daydream a lot myself.
Miss Grepp, wouldn't you at least like to see a little miracle?
Eleanor Audley never appeared in The Twilight Zone, though she can be heard. Hers is one of those iconic, inimitable voices, which she lent to a number of Disney villains, including Maleficent. When a young woman is stalked by a hitchhiker in The Twilight Zone, she makes a desperate call, and the voice on the other end is Eleanor.
Who's this? What number is this?
It's all been very sudden. Nan was killed just 6 days ago in an automobile accident in Pennsylvania. A tire blew out and her car turned over.
One of the great legends of comedy rests here at Mount Sinai. Mr. Warmth, the king of insult comedy, Don Rickles. An odd fit for The Twilight Zone? Hardly. One can find humor in even the darkest of places, including The Twilight Zone. And Rickles worked his acerbic charms on Burgess Meredith in Mr. Dingle the Strong.
Wait a minute, Dingle. Ain't you ever heard of bygones being bygones?
In the episode The Arrival, a plane lands with a few key elements missing, namely pilots, crew, and passengers. Harold J. Stone plays Grant Sheckley, an FAA investigator who must unravel the mystery of this unusual arrival.
Gentlemen, I have a theory. Unfortunately, the only way I can prove it or disprove it is going to put me in considerable jeopardy. Any one of you ever hear of mass suggestion? So? I think that's what we're dealing with now. A kind of hypnosis.
There's someone you're forgetting.
What did you say?
I said, is there something I can get you?
Oh. No, thank you. I'm fine. Say, what happened to that little boy that was bouncing around here earlier?
Boy?
Yeah, Jeremy.
No little boys traveling in this car. In fact, you're the only one. Are you all right?
Fine, I'm just tired, I guess.
It's getting late. Why don't you try and get some sleep?
No, I've got to finish this. Now, Where was I? San Fernando Mission, a Catholic cemetery in the northern end of the San Fernando Valley. Even the man who was the voice of Fred Flintstone could not avoid stumbling into the Twilight Zone. Henry Corden played Sanchez in the episode The Gift in 1962.
Unidentified aircraft or something crashed into the hills north of our village late last night.
Pat O'Malley was a prolific character actor, and among his 400 screen credits are 3 turns in The Twilight Zone, in the episodes Static, Back There, and Walking Distance, as Old Man Wilson.
Mr. Wilson?
Yep, Charlie?
We're going to need some more chocolate syrup, Mr. Wilson.
I'll order some more of it this afternoon.
Penny Singleton, who was buried here with her sister June, played Blondie Bumstead on radio and in 28 motion pictures. Her journey into the Twilight Zone is facilitated by a husband, played by John McGiver, who's enamored with loud noises and wartime soundscapes.
And I respond, Mr. Roswell G. Flemington, with the following nautical phrase, which I have now taken to heart and will proceed to implement. The phrase is, lay aft and dump the garbage. So, in a manner of speaking, consider yourself dumped.
Not even sunny Santa Monica is beyond the reach of the Twilight Zone's haze. This is Woodlawn Cemetery. Before Doug McClure played the cowboy Trampas in the Western series The Virginian, he stood toe-to-toe in a shootout with Mr. Denton on Doomsday. It was high noon in the Twilight Zone.
You Denton?
That's right.
I hear you're supposed to be fast.
You got a good chance to find out?
I aim to.
Angeles Rosedale is one of the oldest cemeteries in the Los Angeles area. Everett Sloan starred in Rod Serling's breakout hit, the TV drama Patterns, in 1955. Years later, Serling brought Sloan into the Twilight Zone, where he did battle with a one-armed bandit.
Did you say something?
What?
Did you call my name?
Why, no, dear.
Mountain View boasts one of the most beautiful mausoleums around. In the courtyard outside the mausoleum is the crypt of Hugh Sanders. You saw him in 3 episodes of The Twilight Zone, as Kronk in Of Late I Think of Cliffordville, Templeton in The Jungle, and as Jerry Potter in Judgment Night.
I'll tell you something. I'd rather they go after us with one of those pocket battleships. That you can see. Not a skulking, crummy tin fish a couple of miles underwater.
Last fall, we spent some time exploring the graveyards around New York City. There too, we found a handful of stars from the Twilight Zone, including Martin Landau. The actor, known for his role as Roland Hand on Mission Impossible, starred in 2 episodes of the Twilight Zone, Mr. Denton on Doomsday, and The Jeopardy Room.
Listen to the following quite carefully. This is the game, and these are the rules. You have been asleep for roughly 3 hours. During that time, I have placed a booby trap in this room.
Lois Nettleton, buried here at St. Raymond's in the Bronx, helped us appreciate a functioning air conditioner in the episode The Midnight Sun, where the Earth has fallen out of orbit and is steadily moving closer and closer to the sun.
I keep
getting this crazy thought. This crazy thought that I'm going to wake up and none of this will have happened. I'll wake up in a cool bed.
Kensico Cemetery is where we find Howard Smith. The gruff character actor played one of the head angels in Cavender is Coming, and an overbearing boss, Mr. Misrel, who drives his employee Gart Williams over the edge in A Stop at Willoughby.
Push, 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 Williams! Push, 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 Williams! Push, 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 Williams! Get with it, boy! Push, 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 Williams! Push, 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 Williams! Push, 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 Williams!
Finally, in the mausoleum at Dayton Memorial in Montgomery, Ohio, rest the mortal remains of Agnes Moorehead. The Oscar-nominated actress who played Endora on Bewitched had us under a spell in the Twilight Zone episode titled The Invaders. Her performance all the more impressive in that she held us in suspense and horror without uttering a single word. That concludes our tour. Here's some of your favorite memories, etc., etc. We are done. One more.
You forgot one, Arthur.
Where are you? I swear, if you tell me I forgot someone.
Well, did you?
No. I don't know. Maybe. There's so many, We've covered all the stars from previous tours, I'm sure of it.
Only people you've already visited?
Maybe there are a few more that we could get to that we've not yet profiled. Yes, you're right. You're right. If we head back to Woodlawn, we find an actor known for Western roles, including Marshall Torrance in The Rifleman. In The Twilight Zone, Paul Fix played a newspaper editor in a town where, one day, the sun just never rose.
This is not the first gallows, Reverend, nor the last. Or he won't be the first unhappy man to die at an early age. We won't be the last mourners on earth either.
We find ourselves back again at Hillside Cemetery in the Court of Joshua. Here lies Shelley Berman. The legendary actor and comedian played the misanthropic Archibald Beechcroft in the episode The Mind and the Matter.
Preying on you now, isn't it? I mean, the quiet, the emptiness.
Well, the thing of it is, it's just that while I don't care much for people, it's difficult not having anyone.
Valhalla Cemetery is in North Hollywood. Do you remember the episode Nightmare at 20,000 Feet? Where a neurotic William Shatner is on a plane and apparently the only one able to see a gremlin on the wing. A gremlin hell-bent on destroying the plane. The man in the furry gremlin costume was Nick Cravat.
Hurry, please.
Hurry! Hurry!
Returning once again to Westwood Village Memorial Park, we find actor Richard Basehart, who played Adam Cook on The Twilight Zone, an explorer of space who finds himself stranded on a distant planet, and also finds himself not alone.
My name is Cook. I come from another planet. I crash landed here. I cracked up my ship. I'm a wingless spaceman, no place to go, and all the time in the universe to get there.
The Beth Olam Mausoleum is at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Joseph Schildkraut was an Oscar-winning actor known for films like The Diary of Anne Frank. He appeared twice in The Twilight Zone, in The Trade-Ins, and in Death's Head Revisited, where the ghosts of the Holocaust remind us that we must never forget.
You tried to kill everyone who was left. In my case, you succeeded. So, I think it would be a waste of time, Captain, wouldn't it? A waste of your precious time to murder me again.
In The Twilight Zone, sometimes it was the children who gave us the biggest chills. Like young actress Terry Burnham, who played Marky in the episode Nightmare as a Child.
Do you remember now about Marky? Do you, Helen?
Yes, I remember.
And the time you burnt your arm?
The place is Carpinteria Cemetery in Santa Barbara County, introducing John Denner, a character actor seen not once, but thrice in The Twilight Zone, as Captain Allenby in The Lonely, Alan Richards in The Jungle, and the title character in Mr. Garrity and the Graves.
This is the kind of town that can generally use me.
Well, what sort of services you supply?
I bring back the dead.
Ending back where we started, at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills, we find the actor who appeared, by no insignificant margin, in more episodes of The Twilight Zone than any other actor. It's not known exactly how many episodes Robert McCord appeared in, since a good number of his roles were uncredited background. But it's more than 30, with some estimates as high as 60 episodes. Among his few credited roles are as serial killer Burke in Season 4's The New Exhibit, and as the sheriff in 100 Yards Over the Rim. There. Done. Jeremy. No, I haven't. Stop it, there aren't any more. Stop it! Stop it, enough! Enough, there aren't any more! Stop it! Stop it! Why are you doing this to me?
You mustn't forget anyone.
That is everyone.
It takes more than great actors to make a TV show.
Of course! The writers! It was the writing that made The Twilight Zone so great. In fact, one of the first things Rod Serling did after The Twilight Zone was picked up was to recruit a number of talented writers established in the sci-fi and fantasy genres. And the ever-gracious Serling wasn't shy about sharing credit for the success of the show with them.
To 3 writing gremlins named Charles Beaumont, George Clayton Johnson, and Dick Matheson, who do much of the writing on the kooky Twilight Zone. Many thanks, fellas. Come over and we'll carve it up like a turkey. Thank you so much.
What Charles Beaumont brought to The Twilight Zone was a sense of the morbid and horrific, a darker tone than Serling. Beaumont was second only to Serling in number of scripts, 22 in all. Episodes like Perchance to Dream, The Howling Man, and Living Doll. His fascination with death may have stemmed from a fear of his own, perhaps a haunting premonition of what was occurring in his own mind. While working on The Twilight Zone, Beaumont began to suffer the effects of a neurodegenerative disease. In later seasons, it affected him so much he required a ghostwriter to finish his scripts, including Jerry Soule. The illness took his life at the age of 38, just a few years after The Twilight Zone ended. George Clayton Johnson didn't have the same output as Serling, Beaumont, or even Richard Matheson, but he still had a strong impact on The Twilight Zone with his more sentimental stories, like Nothing in the Dark. The Star Trek and Logan's Run writer had 7 of his stories made into episodes of The Twilight Zone, including The Four of Us Are Dying, A Game of Pool, and A Penny for Your Thoughts. And it's true what they say, a legend doesn't die because the man does. Ray Bradbury was perhaps the most famous science fiction writer around when The Twilight Zone was being made. And at the onset, it was intended that Bradbury would have a significant role in the show. In the end, only one of his scripts was made, I Sing the Body Electric. Still, the writings of Bradbury were a major influence on Serling, and he was also instrumental in getting Beaumont and Matheson connected to the series. So even though only one Bradbury story was made, his influence was felt throughout The Twilight Zone. Montgomery Pittman was not only a writer on The Twilight Zone, but a director as well. He wrote and directed 3 episodes, The Last Rites of Jeff Birtlebank, 2, and The Grave. He directed 2 additional episodes, Dead Man's Shoes and the fan favorite, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? Mr. Pittman now rests here at Forest Lawn Hollywood. No, don't. I know. One more. Makeup. You remember William Tuttle? We found his niche and urn in the mausoleum at Woodlawn in Santa Monica. He was the principal special effects makeup artist on The Twilight Zone. He's the man who crafted some of the iconic creatures, aliens, and monsters in the series, including the uglies in Eye of the Beholder, the masks the characters wear in The Masks, and the gremlin in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. And that concludes our tour.
I'm disappointed in you, Arthur. Self-proclaimed music lover. You've forgotten one of the most iconic aspects of The Twilight Zone.
Yes. Of course. The music. That eerie, unsettling music setting the mood to perfection from the very first episode. By legendary composer Bernard Herrmann. We found Mr. Herrmann in our travels of New York last year at Beth David Cemetery, one of the truly great film and television composers in Hollywood history. Herrmann is perhaps best known for his collaboration with Alfred Hitchcock on films like Psycho, Vertigo, and North by Northwest. Herrmann's style was a perfect fit for The Twilight Zone. He wrote the original opening theme, which played during the first season.
There is a 5th dimension, beyond that which is known to man.
And his original scores for episodes like Walking Distance, Eye of the Beholder, and Little Girl Lost stand alongside anything he did for the big screen. Just as The Twilight Zone had a rotating cast of actors, so too did it have an array of the best composers working in film and television contribute music to the show. Among them was Jerry Goldsmith. He's known today for scores like Star Trek and Poltergeist, but he also contributed some memorable music to The Twilight Zone. He mainly contributed stock music throughout the series, like some of the jazzy motifs. But he also scored a handful of episodes, including Back There. But the most iconic piece of music, the one instantly recognized and associated with The Twilight Zone, that dissonant 4-note repeating guitar pattern. Did you know? It wasn't even written for The Twilight Zone. The music was a stock library piece, 2 pieces actually, Étrange No. 3 and Milieu No. 2, written by avant-garde composer Marius Constant. He had written the pieces for the CBS Music Library. They spliced together the two pieces to create the iconic opening theme, which was used from season 2 on, heard at the beginning and end of each episode.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
The music has since become synonymous with anything unusual or unexplained. But for years, Constant was unaware that his music was even being used, and he derived no royalties from it, despite it being today his best-known work. Marius Constant died in 2004 and is buried in Paris, France, at the Cimetière Parisien d'Ivry.
So that's it! I've finished the tour!
No, Arthur. There is still one more.
There's one more, Arthur.
You forgot one, Arthur. You forgot one, Arthur.
What's going on? Why have we stopped?
We've reached your final destination, Mr. Dark.
Excuse me. Where are we? I'm sorry, could you tell me where we are, please?
The next stop is a popular YouTube personality. He made videos about famous graves. But now, his is the grave tourist visit. His name was Arthur Dark.
No, it can't be. I'm right here. Can't you see me? Can't you see me? I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. Can't you see me? I'm right here.
Next, we're going to head down the hallway to one of the oldest parts of the mausoleum. The cemetery was founded in 1899.
I'm right here.
And that concludes our tour.
Mr. Arthur Dark, once host, now a permanent resident of the Hollywood Graveyard.
Welcome to Hollywood Graveyard.